Austin City Limits Radio. We are live on the Zoom with a very busy man, Central Texas Food Bank CEO and President Derrick Chubbs has taken some time out. Thank you for doing that, Derrick, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity, Chris. Things have been pretty busy for us. You're right.
Absolutely. So let's start by tell us about, bring us up to speed on, how you guys are hanging with what has to be pretty unprecedented demand for the food bank right now.
You're correct. Chris, no crisis has stretched our ability to serve our friends and neighbors like COVID-19. This is clearly unprecedented. And, this pandemic has caused disruptions to our supply chain. It's reduced food donations from grocery stores, which we depend on heavily,
right.
And which is forcing us to purchase more food. And also it's causing us to literally have to reinvent our food distribution model. And I think reinventing the model has been one of the components that has been the most challenging, because we're having to balance, we're having to balance the incredible increase for demand with implementing exercises and processes to minimize the risk that are associated with our staff and our volunteers. I mean, Absolutely. Distributing food is a high touch exercise with our model. And we're having to totally reverse that and do something entirely different that eliminates as many of those touch points as we possibly can.
A lot of that's probably, I've heard that you guys have gone to kind of more of a uniform box that people get when they roll up there. Is that part of that plan?
Yes, that's exactly part of that plan. There's the social distancing aspect of that plan. And there's also, and the way we're addressing that is through emergency food boxes that we are building off-site as well as still in the food bank, given the fact that we've had to reduce the number of volunteers that come in the food bank by 70%. Yeah. So to offset that, we've set up 5 satellite locations that are actually churches that are building emergency food boxes for us.
That's great.
We've established basically a drive-through model where they come through and they pop their trunk and we drop a box of about 28 to 30 pounds of groceries in their trunk per household.
Wow. So we've heard, there's been such a complete paradigm shift with this experience. People who were just, run-of-the-mill ordinary people in before times now are elevated to life-saving heroic status. I'm talking clearly our healthcare workers, our first responders, the people working in our grocery stores and our pharmacy, your essential workers, and of course you guys. Very much a last line against disaster for a lot of Central Texas families. We had heard that the specific story about HEB having kind of seen this coming in some ways and had developed a pretty advanced contingency plan. Mm-hmm. Did you guys see any of this coming, or did you have a chance to at least prepare a little bit ahead of time?
Quite frankly, we have been preparing and adjusting all along. I think the challenging component about this is that COVID-19 is actually setting the stage for 98% of the decisions that we're having to make. And initially during the month of March, we were literally changing and making adjustments to our models, both our staffing models as well as our distribution models, as quick as every 72 hours. So, we saw a wee bit of it coming, but I think we were able to make the adjustments soon enough. But it's not just us making the adjustments, Chris. We distribute our food, 80% of our food, through 260 partner agencies across the 21 counties that we serve. Yeah. So while we could make our adjustment with, I won't say quickly, but it didn't take us quite as long to make our adjustments. We also had to work with our partner agencies and support them in making adjustments as well. For example, they depend heavily on volunteers. Well, quite a few of those volunteers fall into high-risk groups. So they weren't necessarily able to make the adjustments. So they had to suspend operations. We have partner agencies who initially were not able to shift through a drive-through model, either because their facility wouldn't accommodate it or they just couldn't accommodate it themselves. But fortunately, those who could did, and we've been basically bringing those back online as they've been able to make their adjustments. So I think out of those 260 last count last week, we only had about 14 of those across the 21 counties that were offline, and we've been able to fit those with these additional distributions.
Very good. We're here with Central Texas Food Bank CEO and President Derrick Chubbs with this, again, unprecedented wave of clients for you. You have to be seeing a lot of people who are going through the experience of using a food bank for the very first time. Would you talk a little bit about, how that experience hits people, and also maybe talk to people who are perhaps nearing a situation where they may soon need to rely on your services, and just how to deal with that experience?
Well, first and foremost, if you see this coming or you think you're getting close, I want everyone or all the listeners to know how to get food or how to know where food is. If you simply go to our website, centraltexasfoodbank.org, a big button will appear that says Find Food Now. You press that button, a map will appear. If you enter your zip code or your address, all the places that we're distributing food close to that area will appear, whether it's a partner agency and the times and days that they're open, or whether or not it's one of our mobile pantries. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, there's absolutely nothing wrong. We saw a little of this, Chris, last year with the government shutdown,
right?
Where we had the opportunity to have conversations with our friends and neighbors who were literally seeking help for the very first time. And what we try and do is tell them there's nothing embarrassing about this. One of the things that we always say from a food bank perspective is that the face of hunger isn't what you think. It's not automatically homeless. It's not automatically unemployed. The vast majority of those individuals that were depending on our services during our regular pre-COVID-19 were from working households. So, and needing us once a month to just kind of get them over, to just get them through that period, to now those families are having to come to us every week. And then there are families that are, we have incremental adds to that. So we're saying, let us help you as much as we possibly can. And there's nothing wrong with needing help. The only thing worse than that is not asking for it and seeking it out.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what can all of us do to buttress the strength of the Central Texas Food Bank? What's your number one pressing need? What's the first thing we should do for you?
Well, I think with our retail grocers' shelves being somewhat empty themselves, that means that they're not donating food to the food bank. That's us, and the other 200 food banks across the Feeding America network that depend on donations from retail grocers. Our donations are down about 80%. So the best way to help us right now is to continue to allow us to position ourselves to purchase food ourselves. So monetary donations are preferred. That gives us the opportunity, Chris, but it gives us the opportunity that we need. Shelf stable types of items, things that you would find in your pantry at home. This is a run on those in the grocery stores, and these are the items that we're having to purchase as well. And I think that helps us best. And the next thing definitely is, if you know someone or you yourself is in need of food, go to our website and press the Find Food Now button so you can find where we're distributing food in your area.
Very, very good. If any of this is coming out garbled, we're going to add notes to this post, and so
Okay.
No worries if you miss some of it.
Okay, good.
It's great. It's great to virtually meet you.
Same here, Chris. Thanks.
Derrick Chubbs is the CEO and president of the Central Texas Food Bank. Thank you so much for everything that you and your people are doing. Let me leave you with one final question. Do you need any help? I know we're supposed to stay home. You're home. I'm home. Is there any room for volunteer services, either directly with you guys or with one of the satellite locations that you deal with?
So there are always volunteer opportunities. And quite honestly, when we dropped the number 70% in the building itself, well, that had an impact with the number, because we could typically, on a given day on a volunteer shift, we could accommodate up to 120 volunteers, where now that number's down to around 30. So, and we split those up to maintain social distancing into 2 separate groups. And that's how we're doing that. I will say this though, our partner agencies are still in need of volunteers themselves. And you see those, you see our partner agencies that will pop up. It's okay to give them a call and see if they need help distributing food as well. Because initially, they're much smaller than we are and don't necessarily have the capacity that we do. So they're in need of volunteers as well. And that's probably where I would say we're mostly in the need of volunteers, because I want to try and minimize risk as much as we possibly can. So about a shift of 30, or basically 2 separate shifts of 15, is about all we can accommodate in the building right now. So we're good for volunteers, likely for the next couple of months.
Okay, great. Derrick Chubbs, once again, of the Central Texas Food Bank, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck, and you guys keep calm and carry on.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris, and thanks to you for helping us get the message out. That's very important.
For sure.
All right.